Good morning, Sean. It's Monday, February 11th. I have a story for you. A snowy story. A super sucky snowy story. Sorry, I have an affinity for alliteration. Anyway, my story begins with a blizzard. Okay, that one was unintentional. The blizzard! So yesterday I got off work at 12:30 in the afternoon, after which I went to pick up Whiskers so we could hang out for a few hours before she had to go study. It got to be about 3:30 and she was meeting her classmates at the library at 4, so we went out to the car, but couldn't get it out of the snow. While we were digging my car out using 2 ice cream buckets, which I normally use to store cat food, the 2 people she was going to study with texted and called her saying they wouldn't be able to make it to the library as they were just as stuck as we were. However, I would still need to go to work later, so we decided to go back into my apartment and Google a hardware store within walking distance so I could buy a proper shovel. There weren't any. So we went back to try to get the car out again, and with the help of carpet squares and floor mats wedged under the tires and much digging and pushing and plowing, we made our way out of the parking lot and headed to Walmart, where I bought a shovel, an ice chisel, and 4 of these traction things. They were these plastic wedges meant to be shoved under the tires to give more traction. We'll talk about those later. So, because it was now getting close to 6, and yes, it did take that long, Whiskers suggested I just hang out at her place until I needed to go to work. We drove to her parking lot and got stuck. I pulled out my brand new shovel and put it to work, and even tried some of those traction things. They got lost in the snow. Someone even stopped to help us, but he didn't have a shovel, so mostly he just kicked snow away from the car and helped us push. After he moved on and we were a few feet further into the parking lot trying to think of a way to get into a space, a truck came by and drove through the snow ahead of us, pulling into the nearest space and then backing out, leaving us a trail. Without them, we probably would have stayed at the entrance of the parking lot. So having finally managed to park, we went inside to have dinner. Then it came time for me to go to work. Remember, it's been snowing all day. Whiskers came with me to the car because she knew I would have a hard time getting out of the lot, so we went back to digging and shoving floor mats under the tires, and we managed to back out of the space, but no further. After we spent some time struggling in this new spot, 2 guys in a Jeep pulled up and asked if they could help. They had a shovel, and they had no problem driving through the snow, so 2 of us shoveled while the other guy in the Jeep plowed a trail by driving back and forth between me and the nearest exit. With their help, I was able to get going, and Whiskers went back inside. Then I got stuck again. The guys in the Jeep had gone ahead of me, plowing a trail with their tires, but they entered the lot again and came back around to help push and shovel me onto the street, which wasn't that bad once I got going. I was driving along, making great progress until I got to the street where I work. And then I got stuck. It wasn't a major road, so no one had even tried plowing it, not that the other roads were much better. I don't know how the plowing system works around here, but it certainly has a lot of room for improvement. A heck of a lot. So I texted my coworker, stuck at the end of the street, you can probably see me, yay snow, and started shoveling. After a few minutes, I saw her come running down the street with a shovel to help. We cleared as much snow as we felt necessary to make another run at it. I wedged my other 2 traction strips under the tires, my coworker got behind and pushed, and we went for it. We made it all the way up to the house this way, and then I got stuck. Also, I lost my final 2 traction strips. Apparently they're a one-time use kind of thing. So there we were, 2 cars stuck and hours of shoveling before we'd have a clear path for anyone. My coworker had already started clearing the driveway, but by the time we got in my car up to the house, the snow that was falling and being blown onto the driveway had already destroyed half her work. We eventually came to the conclusion that I should go home and she should stay there overnight and through the next day until the street and driveway were cleared. I went out to my car to try to go home, but I was still really stuck, so I asked my coworker if she could help me push. The neighbors even saw us struggling and came out to help. About 2 hours after I got stuck in front of that house, the 5 of us had managed to get my car onto the clear across street, and I was on my way home. We had literally shoveled the majority of a city block, and my coworker and neighbors had to push the whole way while I struggled behind the wheel, turning and revving in reverse. When I got to the relatively drivable road, I called Whiskers to tell her I was okay and to ask for help. Whiskers, being awesome, agreed to be picked up and to help me get my car home. I had to stay on the street when I picked her up, and I didn't actually come to a full stop because, despite being an emergency snow removal route, the street had not been plowed. She hopped in the car and we were off, until we were stuck a couple blocks down. After more digging and the use of carpet squares for traction, we got going again, until we were stuck a few more blocks down. We were so close to a road that had actually been plowed. We went to dig our way through, and while we were working on getting out, a guy in a big pickup truck came and basically said he was going to tow us out. Even that took 3 tries, and the guy got stuck himself for a little bit. He had a shovel too, and it didn't take him long to get free. Finally, my car was pulled out onto a clear street with Whiskers behind the wheel. I ran up to the car thanking the most recent person to save our butts as he rushed off to help someone else who was stuck on the same street as we were, but a bit farther back. We got all the way to my parking lot when, sure enough, it hadn't been plowed. Whiskers started digging while I ran inside to grab the ice cream buckets and better gloves for her. Someone helped her while I was gone, and someone else came to help when I got back. He and Whiskers shoveled while I scooped with an ice cream bucket, and we eventually got my car back into its space with much pushing and ruining of carpet squares. As we were making the final attempt to get into my space, someone else who needed to get into the lot pulled up onto the street and told us she needed to get even farther into the lot. She had a bigger vehicle, and she also had 4-wheel drive, so she drove through the path that we had dug up until she got stuck just before her spot. We shoveled the rest of her way, and she made it. Whiskers ended up having to stay the night in my apartment because there was no way she was getting back home. The next morning, I waited for a text saying that the road to work had been plowed. It didn't even start until 1 in the afternoon. And then Whiskers once again helped dig my car out, and I dropped her off and went to work for a few hours. I still had to shovel a bit to get into my parking space after work. And that's my snowy story. I burned almost an entire tank of gas, mostly trying to get out of snow. The snow sucked, but the people who helped me out were awesome. Especially Whiskers. Instead of standing at the top of the hole and trying to pull me out, she jumped in and we helped each other climb. I guess there should be a moral to this story. I don't know, you figure it out, I'm tired. The Spanish word of the week for today is nieve, which means snow. No matter how much snow is on the road, you can always get back home. Always keep a shovel in your trunk. It'll be the middle of summer and someone will open my trunk and be like, "Why do you have a shovel in here?" And I'll be like, "Just in case."